Come on. Yeah. Come on. Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome to our new channel, Unfiltered Two Black Women podcast. I am co-host Leah Williams and I have co-host
Dana James.
So we're back here with no agenda, and these conversations are going to be real and authentic. There is no topic structure, but it's just basically having conversation as they unfold organically.
Like you would with your friend, like you would with your bestie.
With your sister.
Right, exactly.
With your yeah.
We might talk about anything. There's no telling where the conversation's going.
So don't be offended. Just understand this is what you would hear from us if we were just having a regular outside conversation today. Let's first start with who are we? So my name is Leah Williams. I am a current sitting school board member. I am a mother. I am a sister and a daughter. And yes, I have lots of friends. I also, in career-wise, have pivoted from engineering to being a freelancer. And I hail from the state of North Carolina. My hometown is Winston-Salem. I am a HBCU graduate. For those who don't know, a historically Black college university known as the North Carolina Agriculture and Technical State University. I have been here a resident of Des Moines half my life. I recently celebrated 50th and I've been here 25 years. Can you tell our listeners who is Dana James?
Yeah, I am a lifelong Iowan. I was born and raised, grew up on the east side of Des Moines, still there, journalist who I started my own thing because I didn't see the representation that I wanted to see from mainstream media. So I started Black Iowa News, which is a statewide newspaper, monthly, a website, email newsletter, podcast, the Inside Black Iowa podcast. And, you know, I'm a wife, I'm a friend, a sister, and I'm just someone who knows that Iowa can do better when it comes to Black people. And so that's what's always on my mind. How do we uplift Black people? How do we showcase all the great work that Black people are doing across the state? How do we give our kids something positive to look to and to aspire to?
Yes. And that segues into, we recently celebrated a federal recognized holiday, Juneteenth, while we still have it.
Well, we were celebrating Juneteenth long before it became a federal holiday. I think Des Moines had its first Juneteenth celebration. It's more than 20 years ago. I know I saw recently Davenport was celebrating theirs for 30 some years. So, you know, Black people have been celebrating Juneteenth since 1866. So, you know, the federal holiday part of it just caught up.
Well, admittedly, so just in case, like I said, I'm gonna keep it real. Being from North Carolina, I don't recall ever celebrating Juneteenth. So moving here to Iowa was eye-opening. Not that I wasn't aware of it, but we didn't celebrate it that to my knowledge. And over the years, seeing how it has grown from, it was at Evelyn K. Davis Park here in Des Moines, and it has recently moved downtown, which we know we got people like, why don't they bring it back to the park? And it's like, why? Why wouldn't you elevate and grow? Because I've seen the growth of it. This Juneteenth, I had the pleasure of doing Embrace the Race 5K. I got to interview some people out there for exercising. Latasha Burrell does that, and getting to understand why did people in that genre embrace the race, because it's health equity. Then this following week on Juneteenth, I got to be a part of the Black Iowa News sponsored the New City Poets poetry open mic, and getting to hear poets around our state come here, as well as outside of the state, using their artistic ability to talk to the crowd, using words and be creative, and seeing that fellowship amongst us, to get up the next day and then be downtown at the Neighbors Day, where for me, like I said, I've been here almost 25 years. It's fun to run into people because as a sitting board member and now a freelancer with photography and social media, getting to ask people, well, what does Juneteenth mean to them? So watch out. We'll have some interviews coming out with the Black Iowa News channel Inside Black Iowa. So Dana, how did you do Juneteenth this year?
So yeah, Black Iowa News, we like to go to different Juneteenths around the state. Last year we did Ottumwa, and that was a great celebration there. This year we went to Cedar Rapids, to the African American Museum of Iowa, and their Juneteenth was great. This was the first year that they moved the event inside of the museum, and so it was kind of inside outside. It was a really beautiful day there, great attendance, you know, music and bouncy houses and lots of small Black business owners. The only The only opportunity that I see with Juneteenth is that I really felt like it was missing the food that I was expecting. I was expecting to get some
Some collard
cat
greens.
yep, catfish, macaroni and cheese, some good, soul food, and that was lacking there. And what about here in Des Moines? Did you have soul food too?
So I forgot to mention our booth because we had Black Iowa came out with a new copy for Juneteenth with Emily for Black Girl Iowa podcast. She did a support Black women booth and papers went in there. So point of saying it is during my interviews in booth and when I sought food, because I knew it was on the opposite side of where I was, I did not see the options I was looking for. There was one food truck that had catfish, and I'm not trying to be frugal, but it was a po' boy for $22. And I was just like, so that's my only option here. But then I ended up getting a walking taco, and they did have seafood, but for me, it's kind of like it wasn't the hottest hot that it normally is. But heat and seafood, in my mind, it just didn't add up. Toss it to my overthinking. So no, I don't feel like it gave me the options I was used to seeing other places that typically
Mhm.
show more variety. So I can say, oh, I want to get the collard greens from here, and I want my sweet potato
Right.
from here. Like I would have had options and it was very few. And it's significant and makes you wonder because I know there's plenty of people here that do know how to fix food and that would have been potential places, but I don't know what may have been happening behind the scenes or
Right.
whatnot.
It just would be a good opportunity like next year for people to kind of think ahead, like you become a vendor at some of these spaces. I mean, the networking alone is
Mhm.
worthwhile, but be a vendor and so we can get our food satisfied, our quest for that food satisfied. But it was a beautiful, Juneteenth's really a great event. And I like that, like with the Des Moines, with the Iowa Juneteenth, they have spread some of their activities.
Mhm.
They've got some coming in the fall. And I think, the more we know about Juneteenth, the better. Certainly the characterization of it has changed from, when people first started talking about Juneteenth here, it's almost told with the kind of white savior a mode to it because you had the story of General Gordon Granger going to Galveston, delivering the news to the enslaved that they were free and had been free for 2.5
Mm.
years prior with the Emancipation Proclamation. But a lot of like what we're learning as the story evolves is that the US colored troops were there too. So, imagine that you had these brothers who had fought, to help people be free, coming also to deliver that news. And then also what we're learning, the story really is that this general was going there to enforce the Emancipation Proclamation. He was going there to really let the enslavers know, you have to, let these people be free. And so again, it's not that white savior story that we're used to hearing. It's really about we're centered in the story, our freedom. And I love that, when people think of Juneteenth now, they're thinking of, freedom and resiliency and really our strength as a people.
And sometimes they be thinking nonsense. I've seen people upset on the internet because of using red, green, and black colors because that's not representative. And it's just like, who has the? Some people are actually suggesting that it should be red, white, and blue, and it's like,
Nah, nope.
no. And I think you read somewhere where a guy said that they were illiterate. So
Yeah, there was something on Threads where someone was talking about how their father didn't wanna celebrate Juneteenth because it was celebrating illiteracy of the enslaved people, and that they should have known that they were free. Now, I have read with the Smithsonian that there were networks back then where the enslaved people they knew what was going on and they had received the word, but a key part again is that they weren't free to leave. The whole thing with enslavement, they were being held against their will. And so you needed that military to come there to enforce that. And so some of these crazy comments online just make you raise your eyebrows like, are you serious? But there's so much garbage on the internet. And I know you know a little bit more
because it's your
recently.
man. Oh my god. So what we're getting at is, unbeknownst to me, during all my Juneteenth celebrations, I became a viral video for exercising my First Amendment right. And what I mean by that is, just because I'm a sitting school board member, it doesn't mean I have to stand for pledge. Nobody has to. And if people even looked at or dived into it, my concerns have always been about the fact that my father, my uncles, my relatives, my grandparents, they serve, right? How we're just talking about Juneteenth. They serve only to return back and still be called hard N-words, not be able to get access to housing. I think about one of my uncles who he drank himself basically to death because of what he endured in the war. Then to come back here and not get the same fair treatment, you're still stuck in Jim Crow laws, right? And this video has clips of showing me segmented of not standing along with one of my other school board members. And I was named every name but the child of God. And I know we always say we shouldn't read comments, but I was curious because now I realize I'm threatened. Like, you're talking about hanging me, they're talking about dragging me, all this stuff. So we're in it. There's the military. Is the military here to help protect what rights and freedoms I do have? And the conversation about First Amendment, like, who is it for? Why do a certain demographic think that it's only for them to enforce, but yet I don't have the rights to do that? Like, I'm not being disrespectful. I'm sitting here quietly. I'm pulling a Kaepernick. I am exercising my right, which is my role to people who see me. I'm
Right.
teaching you how to advocate for yourself, because just because someone says this is a suggested idea, standing for the Pledge of Allegiance for me has always felt like we're in some kind of cult. And when they say under one nation, under God, I don't feel like it's everybody gets to be under it. It's a one nation for one particular subgroup, but not necessarily mine. What are your thoughts about that?
I agree. I stopped. I can't remember the last time I would have stood for the pledge, but certainly during Colin Kaepernick era, I very much identify with what he was saying, that this country owes us. This country is still harming us. And why would I stand for a flag for a country that, the elected leaders, are constantly showing their anti-blackness towards? So until this country gets itself together, no, I'm not going to stand for any Pledge of Allegiance. And I've been in a couple of instances where people stood and everyone stood around me and I sat there and, unapologetically, unbothered by the fact that other people stood and I didn't. That's for me to decide. And so, here we are, it's 2026, and the fact that you had these people online, threatening you, I believe I saw them mention in the comments, tar and feathered, hang, like those are serious words. They really are. And even at the school board meeting, I believe one of the school board officials said, kind of that it was a call to violence. And that is startling. And it's definitely something to think about here in Iowa, really in anywhere, because we have seen in the last 5 or 6 years these.
Had two Iowans that was at the insurrection
Right.
that some kind of way they got pardoned after trying to attack government officials.
Right.
Where when we had the BLM protest, people were getting shot on the spot.
Right. Hit with their cars. Yeah. And I mean, so it is something to take seriously. And at the same time, we know that a lot of these people are just those keyboard warriors. When they see you in person, you walk by them going in and out of that board meeting, they didn't have nothing to say then. They didn't want to look at anybody. It's just all this fake bravado behind the scenes. But again, this is the environment that we as Black people are living in constantly. And it kills me that, so many people think, oh, you'll hear certain things about Iowa. Oh, it's
Iowa nice.
Yeah, and Des Moines is, the best place to live for this and that, for young professionals and things like that. But what about us? Like, it's not for us. We've known this year so many Black women. We've written about it at Black Iowa News several times about how Black women were struggling to find work.
Yes.
And we're talking about Black women with degrees.
Educated to the finest.
Experience, up the wahoo, but still can't find employment. So this place, it's just like when during COVID, I wrote many pieces where I said, we're not in the same pandemic. And that has translated into now. We're not experiencing Des Moines and Iowa the same as other people because, and that's why our podcast is named Unfiltered, because we need to talk about the fact that it may be the best place to live for young professionals, but is it the best place to live for young Black professionals?
Or Black women just in general.
Or Black men, Black kids. I mean, we could talk about education.
I was just going off because that's
All
our
of it.
title.
Right.
Because, our Malcolm X, him and his disrespected, unprotected, neglected. His quote about how Black women are treated here in America. And that is what I would say back to, like, experiencing the school board situation. Like, thank you that I do have a support group that did come out, and that was not all of them, but it was effective enough to show that, hey, there is someone here that's saying that, no, I am protecting you and I'm not going to let that happen. The same way I would do that for them. And I'm in an unpaid position.
Unpaid.
People wanted to fire me in the comments, and I'm like, well, shoot, bring me that check.
You got paid me before you could fire me.
Let me have something to put in my taxes this year, please. It's to your point, with the sitting board member saying it incited violence and it's unnecessary. Why do we need to go out here trying to harm somebody? Again, First Amendment rights, correct? Freedom of speech, right? But am I not supposed to be able to say anything? And for fear of, like, even here, I'm gonna put a disclaimer. These are my views and my views only.
Right.
Just because that's the society we're in, we're supposed to always take stuff. And I feel like as Black women, we endure so much all the time that we are not ever expected to be exhausted. And we're supposed to just keep doing stuff. And also back to being unfiltered. We're supposed to be here and not talk about what's really happening. We're supposed to let the elephant just circulate so much and never discuss it. We got to talk about it.
Yeah, we have to talk about it. And, we talk about it a lot of times in our own circles, our own networks and things like that. And, but we've got to talk about it publicly because we need more people to understand. You don't have to like us, but you do have to respect us. And we have as much right as anybody to be wherever it is we want to be. And so you can get on there on Facebook or any of these social media sites and you can put your negative comments, but that's never going to stop us. You want to talk about people who are resilient. Yes, we are resilient, but at the same time, we shouldn't have to be. We shouldn't have to be just because, right? Just because you perceive that you don't agree with us and we don't agree with you. Like some of the stuff in the comments that they were talking about you were just like outrageously wild comments that I'm pretty sure that if these people, wherever they work, they might have got fired if it got back to the people that they work for. It just was ridiculous.
It's unnecessary because cyberspace lives forever, number one. Two, how do you be someone that's in the military, but then you're really, again, it's that whole thing I started off with the pledge. If you can go and fight for a country and say you're fighting for everybody's freedoms and rights, why do you get to dictate which one it is? Because at the end of the day, when it says on one nation under God, I always felt like it affected people who might be Jehovah's Witnesses or other religious sectors that may not feel that way. And if you ever ask me, I honestly started because I had students who were trying to exercise their rights. And as someone that was being a community mentor, I stuck with it because I wanted to be a mentor to me that I had growing up. I come from Winston-Salem and I come with the history of having Black spaces. I had Black physicians, I had Black eye doctors, Black educators. So all I know is the term that might be controversial, say Black excellence, meaning that I saw me. So when we got President Obama, it was just a natural thing because that's what I grew up with seeing. But even with him, he can't wear a tan suit. And then let's go to our former first lady. Why are we online calling this lady a man? Like, where in there do we stop in the inciting of ugliness?
Right. And racism. I mean, you can't get more racist than that. That's a racist trope. And I mean, we all know, Michelle, that's our forever first lady.
Yeah.
That's probably the most beautiful and most brilliant first lady in my estimation that we've ever had. And all America has done since then is try to take them down. Like they living their best lives. They ain't worried about
minding nobody else's
minding their own business, right? But they still like this current president is still so hung up on Obama that it's like, you need to get some help for that, okay? You need to talk to somebody about that. Right.
Did you see that? That pool is almost as green as his background, but you were making improvements. And it feels like everything that has been touched is on purpose. Even here in Iowa, if we could seg into that, the different laws that have come out, it's been very much, if y'all are not paying attention, we are a testing site to see what is going to fly and what is not going to fly. And if you're not using your voice and you're not voting or doing things that's necessary to make corrective changes, we're not seeing stuff getting any better. So
Yeah, definitely not, and that's why a lot of the work that I do at Black Iowa News is pointing out, these laws, is talking about the trends and the issues around the laws, and I'll be doing a lot more, with my staff coming up in the coming months on voter education. Like, that is really a big concern of mine that we know the schools aren't teaching about voting the way that they would have, the way that we probably grew up knowing a lot more about voting and feeling like it was a duty, even to a country that has always did your people wrong, continues to do your people wrong. We still grew up with this mindset that it was a duty, that this is your way to exercise your voice. And so we've got to figure out some way, I think, as Black Iowans, as Black Americans, to impress upon young people that their very conditions in their cities and neighborhoods and schools correlates to what's happening in the voting booth, and that we need to help them see that connection because
especially with the underfunding, if I throw that out
right,
there, when
absolutely.
you've seen that funding for schools, especially here in Iowa, that your public tax dollars goes to pay for people to go to private schools. And what do private schools do? They raise their tuition.
Like we knew they would.
They don't have any jurisdiction. So if they kick that student out, they come back to the school that they were at, that they took their funding from to be at the private school. And then meanwhile, as a property tax owner, you gotta pay property taxes because we gotta continue to fund what was there. Like, things are getting tight.
And I also read that I believe 79% of the people who received the funding at the private school were families that were already going to private schools, meaning they could already pay for their
Afford it.
child to go to private school. So now we're just subsidizing, and yeah, I said subsidizing, and I'm gonna say it again, we're subsidizing them to go send their child to private school, but these are the same people that want to literally take food out of kids' mouth. In reverse, they're the first ones that want to slash this funding for this and slash funding for that, but they're okay taking this money. To me, that is the height of hypocrisy, for you to be able to afford to send your child to private school, but you're going to take taxpayer dollars for people who, like, come on
It's
now.
getting really greedy at the end of the day,
It is.
especially again. But I will say, on the positive things, we are resilient.
Yes, we are.
And so, folks, if you don't know how to survive in this economy, get you a Black woman, a Black family, because when it comes to knowing how to make them pennies pinch, we got it. And it's unfortunate, but I look at too, when we think about the education, and I look at my mom, and conversations I had growing up in my household was the fact that we fought so hard to get integrated, and it ended up being a scam at the end of the day. Now, don't get me wrong, I like where I live. I love it. However, I do know I got some neighbors who were wondering, why am I here? And they're not so neighborly. But I also understand that we had a system of us taking care of us. So there was no child left behind. There was a representation of Black males teaching our kids. There was a lot of that, and it didn't matter if our books wasn't the nicest, but we got a really great education. It's just in our new generation, which may segue to a whole nother conversation later.
Technology.
Because I will say it is insufferable to see our new generation kids not understand how important things are, because they're not having to face it. There are, I don't know, I'm not going to say the word colorblind, but they're blinded to having access to stuff now, not knowing how we struggle
Right.
to have it.
And how a lot of the sacrifice of Black people who came before us, their sacrifice changed things for everyone. It opened up things for everyone. And so yeah, this is just giving you a taste of what the Two Black Women Unfiltered is going to be like. We'd be here all day. So we're really thankful that you listen to this episode. We invite you to like and follow us on social media. We encourage you to pick up a copy of the Black Iowa newspaper. It's located in about 120 locations in 24 cities in Iowa, comes out monthly. We'd love for you to become an email newsletter subscriber and just stay in touch with us. We want to hear more from you too about topics that you want us to talk about or people you want us to interview. So hit us up when you're able. Any last words, Leah?
I'm just happy to be here and keep it real. which sometimes they don't always go the right way. But yes, that's pretty much it. Like looking forward to hearing back from our listeners as well as seeing what our show is going to take off and do this season.
All right. Well, we will end there and see you next time.
Come on.